The Relenting of Sarnidac by Lord Dunsany. Read by Kieran. The lame boy Sarnidac tended sheep on a hill to the southward of the city. Sarnidac was a dwarf and greatly derided in the city, for the women said, "It is very funny that Sarnidac is a dwarf." And they would point their fingers at him, saying, "This is Sarnidac. He is a dwarf. Also, he is very lame." Once the doors of all the temples in the world swung open to the morning, and Sarnidac with his sheep upon the hill saw strange figures going down the white road, always southwards. All the morning he saw the dust rising above the strange figures, and always they went southwards, right as far as the rim of the Nidun hills, where the white road could be seen no more. And the figures stooped and seemed to be larger than men, but all men seemed very large to Sarnidac, and he could not see clearly through the dust, and Sarnidac shouted to them, as he hailed all people that passed down the long white road. And none of the figures looked to the left or right, and none of them turned to answer Sarnidac. But then few people ever answered him, because he was lame and a small dwarf. Still the figures went striding swiftly, stooping forward through the dust, till at last Sarnidac came running down his hill to watch them closer. As he came to the white road, the last of the figures passed him, and Sarnidac ran limping behind him down the road. For Sarnidac was weary of the city wherein all derided him, and when he saw these figures all hurrying away, he thought that they went perhaps to some other city beyond the hills, over which the sun shone brighter, or where there was more food. For he was poor, even perhaps where people had not the custom of laughing at Sarnidac. So this procession of figures that stooped and seemed larger than men went southward down the road, and the lame dwarf hobbled behind them. Kamazan, now called the city of the last of temples, lies southward of the Nidun hills. This is the story of Pompeides, now chief prophet of the only temple in the world, and greatest of all the prophets that have been. On the slopes of Nidun I was seated once above Karmazan. There I saw figures in the morning, striding through much dust along the road that leads across the world. Striding up the hill they came towards me, not with the gait of men, and soon the first one came to the crest of the hill, where the road dips to find the plains again, where lies Karmazan. And now I swear by all the gods that are gone that this thing happened as I shall say it, and was surely so. When those that came striding up the hill came to its summit, they took not the road that goes down into the plains, nor trod the dust any longer, but went straight on and upwards, striding as they strode before, as though the hill had not ended, nor the road dipped. And they strode as though they trod no yielding substance, yet they stepped upwards through the air. This the gods did, for they were not born men who strode that day so strangely away from earth. But I, when I saw this thing, when already 3 had passed me, leaving earth, cried out before the 4th, "Gods of my childhood, guardians of little homes, whither are ye going, leaving the round earth to swim alone, and forgotten in so great a waste of sky? Heresy apace shoots her fierce glare over the world, and men's faith grows dim, and the gods go. Men shall make iron gods, and gods of steel, when the wind and the ivy meet within the shrines of the temples of the gods of old." And I left that place as a man leaves fire by night, and going plainwards down the white road that the gods spurned, cried out to all that I passed to follow me, and so crying came to the city's gates. And there I shouted to all near the gates, "From yonder hilltop the gods are leaving earth." Then I gathered many, and we all hastened to the hill to pray to the gods to tarry, and there we cried out to the last of the departing gods. "Gods of old prophecy and of men's hopes, leave not the earth, and all our worship shall hum about your ears as never it hath before, and oft the sacrifice shall squeal upon your altars." And I said, "Gods of still evenings and quiet nights, go not from earth, and leave not your carven shrines, and all men shall worship you still. For between us and yonder still blue spaces oft roam the thunder and the storms. There in his hiding lurks the dark eclipse, and there are stored all snows and hails and lightnings that shall vex the earth for 1,000,000 years. Gods of our hopes, how shall men's prayers, crying from empty shrines, pass through such terrible spaces? How shall they ever fare above the thunder and many storms to whatever place the gods may go in that blue waste beyond?" But the gods bent straight forward, and trampled through the sky, and looked not to the right nor left, nor downwards, nor ever heeded my prayer. And one cried out, hoping yet to stay the gods, through nearly all were gone, saying, "O gods, rob not the earth of the dim hush that hangs round all your temples, bereave not all the world of old romance, take not the glamour from the moonlight, nor tear the wonder out of the white mists in every land. For, O ye gods of the childhood of the world, when you have left the earth, you shall have taken the mystery from the sea and all its glory from antiquity, and you shall have wrenched out hope from the dim future. There shall be no strange cities at night time, half understood, nor songs in the twilight, and the whole of the wonder shall have died with last year's flowers, in little gardens or hill slopes leaning south. For with the gods must go the enchantment of the plains, and all the magic of dark woods, and something shall be lacking from the quiet of early dawn. For it would scarce befit the gods to leave the earth, and not take with them that which they had given it. Out beyond the still blue spaces, you will need the holiness of sunset for yourselves, and little sacred memories, and the thrill that is in stories told by firesides long ago. One strain of music, one song, one line of poetry, and one kiss, and a memory of one pool with rushes, and each one the best shall the gods take to whom the best belongs when the gods go. Sing a lamentation, people of Kamazan. Sing a lamentation for all the children of earth at the feet of the departing gods. Sing a lamentation for the children of earth who must now carry their prayer to empty shrines, and around empty shrines must rest at last. Then when our prayers were ended, and our tears shed, we beheld the last and smallest of the gods, halted upon the hilltop. Twice he called to them, with a cry somewhat like the cry wherewith our shepherds hail their brethren, and long gazed after them, and then deigned to look no longer, and to tarry upon earth, and turn his eyes on men. Then a great shout went up when we saw that our hopes were saved, and that there was still on earth a heaven for our prayers. Smaller than men now seemed the figures that had loomed so big, as one behind, other far over our heads. They still strode upwards, but the small god that had pitied the world came with us down the hill, still deigning to tread the road, though strangely not as men tread, and into Kamazan. There we housed him in the palace of the king, for that was before the building of the temple of gold, and the king made sacrifice before him with his own hands, and that he had pitied the world, did not eat the flesh of the sacrifice. And the book of the knowledge of the gods in Kamazan tells how the small god had pitied the world, told his prophets that his name was Sarnidac, and that he herded sheep, and that therefore he is called the shepherd god, and sheep are sacrificed upon his altars thrice a day, and the north, east, west, and the south are the 4 hurdles of Sarnidac, and the white clouds are his sheep. And the book of the knowledge of the gods tells further how the day on which Pompeides found the gods shall be kept forever as a fast until the evening, and called the fast of the departing. But in the evening shall a feast be held, which is named the Feast of the Relenting. For on that evening Sarnidac pitied the whole world and tarried. And the people of Kamazan all prayed to Sarnidac, and dreamed their dreams and hoped their hopes, because their temple was not empty. Whether the gods that are departed be greater than Sarnidac none knew in Kamazan. But some believe that in their azure windows they have set lights, that lost prayers swarming upwards may come to them like moths, and at last find haven and light far up above the evening and the stillness where sit the gods. But Sarnidac wondered at the strange figures, at the people of Kamazan, and at the palace of the king, and the customs of the prophets, but wondered not more greatly at aught in Kamazan than he had wondered at the city which he had left. For Sarnidac, who had not known why men were unkind to him, thought that he had found at last the land for which the gods had let him hope, where men should have the custom of being kind to Sarnidac.